Hi there, I'm Sandy Allnock, and I am delighted to be here for Ellen Hutson today. And I'm going to show you how to make some beautiful tie-dye and a nebula that's based on the same technique. Because it was so much fun, I accidentally stumbled on it. I'm going to be using my set of Tombow markers, but I'm actually just going to pick out 3 of the colors, a pink, a yellow, and a blue. And I'm going to use some Canson XL watercolor paper because that's going to work best to get these colors to really flow. And I've got a half sheet or 2 half sheets cut that I will attach onto some hardboard. Hardboard is just a really nice stiff board that you can tape your paper down to, and it's not going to go anywhere because you want this to be really flat. Sometimes I don't tape watercolor paper down, but this time you definitely want to because you don't want water to puddle. Start out by making a spiral. Now, I watched a bunch of tutorials on making different kinds of tie-dye, and I disagreed with one of the aspects that people have said to do, which is to make a spiral in each one of the colors that you're using. I'm only going to draw the spiral for the yellow because what I found was it was difficult to get rid of the line. And I wanted to leave a little bit of white space in there and not have everything be completely solid. And for the yellow, I had to go in and be pretty solid so I could get rid of that line. I didn't want to see that in my finished artwork. So the other colors, I'm going to not draw that line, but you will see tutorials out there that tell you to do that. And I just find this to be a little bit on the easier side because I'm just making flick marks around the whole thing, just using my spiral as a guideline. But you can tell I'm trying to go over top of it so I get rid of the line. And if you were to draw lines for all 3 colors, you'd be fighting that the whole way along. This is a rather kind of time-consuming project, so be ready to spend a little time doing it. Next up, I'm going to take the pink and do the same thing, but I'm stopping short of where the yellow started, so I end up having a pink streak outside of the yellow streak. And as you can see, this works really well to blend it nicely with the yellow, so you get sort of an orangey color where the 2 of them crisscross. We are going to go over it with 1 more layer of color, so no big deal. Don't worry if things aren't looking really perfect as you start going through this layer. Because then we're going to add the 3rd color. Now, I've seen tie-dye that's done in 1 color, and I really want to try some that are in 1 color because I think that looks really cool. But I'm doing 3 colors so you can see how this goes. Now, one thing I want you to notice is where the blue crosses the other colors, it gets dark. And that's because blue, yellow, and red of any sort will make a brown or a neutral color. So it's creating a neutral, and when it only touches the pink, it creates a purple, but when it touches all 3, it gets to be more than that. So be a little bit careful in where you're applying your color, because if you end up with a whole big thing full of brown, that's because you have too much of the 3 primary colors and they're mixing together too much. So now I'm going back in and I'm making flick marks into the white area. So make sure you do leave some white in between because that's going to help you to grow the streaks of color back in the other direction as well, and it'll get you some better blending as you work through this. Each one of these strokes, as you make them, is going to end up with that thinner point on it. So it's going to fix the whole idea of having those like stubby ends for each one of the strokes and start to make them a little bit more blendy. I'm going to go back around with the pink and drag the pink in both directions and then drag the blue in the same kind of a way all the way around. And notice that some of the areas where I'm getting all 3 colors is getting really dark. So be aware of that. It's really easy to get too dark real quickly with these. It's also possible to get too weird and pale. And I'll show you my other examples later on where I kind of didn't put enough color down. So it's a little bit of a balance to try this out, but it's really inexpensive paper, so it's easy to get some practice done. So I'd taken a spray bottle and just doing a super light, super quick spritz. Notice that some of those areas got blendy really quick, and I've tried dabbing them off rather than heat setting them, and that didn't work. I ended up lifting too much color. So what I did was just zap it super fast. Just don't let it sit very long because it's going to make puddles that I will show you in just a moment with some of the earlier samples. And then I wanted some blended area on the right hand side, so I just took some streaks that I made with the spray and just sprayed in streaks so I could get a few areas loosened. But look what happened to that one. It just went a little bit crazy, and that can easily happen. So I wanted to keep some areas that were soft, some that were not, but I ended up with puddles because I let it air dry on its own, and then it just dripped and did a mess. So there you go. Peel that tape off, which is such a satisfying feeling when you get a nice crisp edge. And then you can do anything you want with this half sheet of paper. You can make a card out of it, you can frame it, you can, make a book cover out of it, you can do all kinds of things with it. My choice, of course, is to make a card. So I took another piece of paper and put some Be Creative tape on the back of it before I die cut the word hello out of that same kind of yellow, pink, and blue so that it would match my card, and then stuck it onto the white die that is the outline. And it just made the coolest card. Isn't that fun? Would that not cheer anybody up? Way too fun. Does take a while to do, but it was well worth the effort. So now I've got another sheet, same thing, half a sheet, and I'm going to show you the super easy nebula because this one is so much fun. You're going to just make a gajillion of these because they're so fun. Same 3 colors, going to keep it really easy. Make a circle, make a donut out of the yellow, and I was originally going to start with another color in the center of my nebula, but I decided yellow would be best. It would look the fieriest. And then I just started adding streaks of the pink and the blue around it. And notice I'm not making them perfect. I'm not making them even. I'm literally, deliberately making them look like they're just splaying out all over the place. This is the easiest kind of marker work to do. Just make it look like a big burst. I did decide to add some pink around the outside edges just to add some more flair to it. And then just spray around the outside edges all the way around. And I'm making, you can tell I'm kind of doing streak marks with the bottle itself so that I'm guiding the water just a little bit. But don't be shy, put in plenty of water and spread that stuff around. And look how gorgeous that starts to look. Now you could make this into a flower, of course, but we're going to make this into a nebula because it's way easier than a flower. So I threw some water in the center section and then dabbed it back off because it overdid it a little bit with that yellow and filled it all in. And then I took my brush and just made kind of some streaks going out from the center to blend a few areas that weren't quite blended, and then dried it real quickly. Again, for the same reasons as before, I didn't want it to puddle once I was happy with it. But you could turn this sucker in all different kinds of directions. You could frame it again, make other things out of it, or you could make a card. But look at all those beautiful water blooms. I just think they are delicious. So I am going to now add the sentiment on here with embossing powder onto this. And I'm doing so using another of the Ellen Hutson sets. And I'm going to put the words in places where there's dark color underneath. And that means the words are going to show up because they're going to be heat embossed in white. And I didn't want them to disappear too much. So I used the de-static tool first so that the powder wouldn't stick anywhere except for where I stamped with the Versamark, and then dumped the powder on it and heat set it. Added a few stars just with that white pen because, I got to do that. And is that not gorgeous? You are pretty amazing. And that is all. You are pretty amazing because you know how to click the like button on a video like this, and I pretty much know you are smashing it right now because this is such a fun technique. Go try it yourself. It's really fun. There's supplies listed in the doobly-doo, and I'll see you again soon.